Right now, New York Congresswoman and former small business owner herself, Claudia Tenney. Congresswoman, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on.
How would a plan like this affect your constituents? What do you think about a border adjustment tax?
Yeah, the border adjustment tax is very controversial, obviously. I need to see more of what's going on with the plan. Actually, I own a small manufacturing business, so manufacturing is a little bit different sector than retail. But in the end, what we really want to do is protect our consumers with a simpler tax code as the president defined. The president has a little bit different idea than the border adjustment tax. He has more of a tariff-based plan. And I'm just concerned mostly about our small business community in a struggling upstate New York district where we have, had once great manufacturing. We're one of the last manufacturers left in my district, but, we want to be sure that our retail market is strong, and it's kind of odd that in a weird way, the retail sector is sort of agreeing with the manufacturing sector that we need to really relook at that border adjustment tax. The jury's still out on it. I'd like to see the plan. I know we're in the works. Very much so in the Congress and the House. We're working very hard on trying to come up with a plan that everybody agrees with. So it's still a work in progress, I think.
Congressman, it's Dagan McDowell. Would you get behind any tax reform plan or even a tax cutting plan coming out of the House that didn't significantly raise revenue? That seems to be the linchpin. It's, do you look for $1 trillion in revenues from somewhere, or do you just pass a tax reform without worrying about the revenue side?
Well, they're trying to look for a revenue neutral, like something that's not going to actually cost us money. And revenue neutral looks like the bottom line here. I'd love to see us actually make money off of it by reducing taxes and doing it through a growth-based plan, which I think this plan, for the most part, is trying to do.
Okay, but I mean, that's really what it comes down to, right? The Republicans want to raise revenue here, but the president just talked about tax cuts on the campaign trail.
Well, exactly, and the tax cuts in a hope to increase growth and to bring jobs back here. The discussion of the border adjustment tax versus the tariffs, I think, is the distinction between what the president is offering and what the House Republicans are offering, and I think there's a middle ground there. I've heard a lot of pushback, as you see, not just the president's receiving it from the retail community. We are also in our area, but remember, I run a manufacturing firm, and we do lose jobs to overseas because of some of the issues we have with trade. So the president that's what he ran on, and that's what his strength is in our community. And people want to see our jobs come back.
We should point out manufacturing companies like Boeing, like General Electric, they're actually endorsing raising revenue and a border adjustment tax, Peter. But would the markets trade down?
I think one of the things, Congresswoman, that people are puzzled by is Congress looking at the competitive reaction that might occur if we put in a border adjustment tax? Just what might happen to American manufacturing if China decided to take steps to counteract what we've done with the border adjustment tax, just as an example. I'd urge you to look for that middle ground because I think that's the right place to be.
Right, I agree, and it's been a huge discussion. We are meeting on it every day. People like me who have the input as a manufacturing base versus retailers and the middle ground, and I think the president meeting with everyone is going to be a huge help in helping us guide our way through what ultimately comes out on the tax plan. We have a lot of issues to cover as the House. I'm on the Financial Services Committee, so there's a lot of work to be done there as far as dealing with Dodd-Frank and so many other issues. But the tax plan is a huge issue in my district. New York State has the highest taxes, or some of the highest taxes in the nation. It makes us less competitive. It makes it difficult for manufacturers and retailers like our company, and so we'd like to see, a simpler tax plan. Obviously, regulations are big too. I mean, there's so much going on that the rest of the country is ahead of us. So New York State we've got to consider it as a whole picture.
Congresswoman Buck Sexton here. I wanted to ask you about the timeline for this. There was some consternation when there was, at least what seemed to be, a bit of a delay or a promised delay in getting tax reform done, especially because it was such an important issue for Donald Trump on the campaign trail.
Right.
Any sense that this is being put off? And I know Obamacare is quite a large menu item for them to be handling, for you to be handling right now down in Congress. Do we have a sense of what the timeline is, and are they moving a little faster on it? Because even though it's only a few weeks into this presidency, there are people who were a little upset that they were being told that tax reform would wait until 2018.
Yeah, we are obviously pushing as hard. We're working very hard every single day. This is going to be one of the most aggressive years. I've been told. I'm a freshman, so I'm not familiar with how the Congress works as well as I know. I was a state assembly member, but we are being told this is going to be a very aggressive year, a lot of session days and a lot of work being done. We are doing this as quickly as we can to make sure that everybody's on board, or the majority of us are happy with what happens, that the American people are getting what they voted for and what they wanted. And so we are really working hard to make sure that happens. There are issues on a number of fronts, whether it's Obamacare, whether it's Dodd-Frank, our tax reform plan. These are major, major issues we're putting through. It's not, this is bold. All the plans are very bold, and we want to be sure what we put through is going to come through with great outcomes for the American people. And my district is where I'm voted in and I represent, and so I want to be sure that what we do is going to be helpful for my communities. And I think you're going to see, I've never just seen so much work and so much effort put in to try to come up with a real solution that helps. So I think the fact that the president is taking so much input from all sectors, I think is going to be a very big help. And we want to make sure we get this done right, and it has to be done quickly but done right. And I do appreciate the president's interest in meeting with all of us.
Let's talk about Andy Puzder pulling out. President Trump is looking at 4 contenders now after fast food executive Andy Puzder withdrew himself from consideration for labor secretary a day before the confirmation hearing. Fox News is reporting that these are the front runners: former National Labor Relations Board members Peter Kirsaneau and Alexander Acosta, and former South Carolina Department of Labor Director Catherine Templeton, Joseph Guzman, and Assistant Professor of Labor Relations at Michigan State University. What would each of these candidates bring to the table, or what do you want to see in terms of the qualifications for the next Labor Secretary?
Well, I'd like to see somebody provide a balance for labor relations. Obviously, it's a big issue. We'd like to see open markets and we'd like to see some freedom. But I come from a state that's very union rich, and we have good relationships with a lot of our unions in New York State. So I'd like to see a balance there, but I'd also like to allow us to have free markets and to allow us to continue to grow our base and really provide benefits that are good for workers, not so much for union leaders, but actually for the workers. And we have a very strong union base in New York.
Does that mean you want to see $15? You want to see $15 across the country?
Absolutely not. I don't support government-based controls on pricing and wages. Minimum wage has been a killer. Imposed high minimum wages for New York State. We have a 3-tier minimum wage in New York right now, which is going to be in the long run, I think, destructive. The minimum wage in upstate New York is smaller. It impacts small businesses like mine and family farms, which are going to be devastated by this wage forced in by Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah. All right, Congresswoman. Good to see you.
Thanks
so much. Claudia Tenney there.